Baca. It's a pleasure to be here and with the invitation of CWA and with my brothers and sisters that are out here, because working families, you're important to a lot of us. Member in the labor organization, it's important that you remember who you are, where you come from, and continue to make sure you support your brothers and sisters, because it's not just about yourselves, it's about the future of others. Those that want to come right behind you is to make sure that they have access and they have the ability to progress. And that's why I want to thank, a close friend of mine, Rosa Bernard, is here. Where is she at? Give her a round of applause. Let me tell you, for a lot of you that are here, Rosa and Karen Macias have been great friends, and Judy is here too as well. It's important that you develop that kind of a relationship with members of Congress or legislators. Get to know who they are and where they're coming from. All of you play an important part, even being here in Washington, D.C., but it's that personal relationship and the relationship that you have that you develop a lot of trust and faith with individuals. So when it comes to your issues and they're coming to see us, it's a lot easier for us to listen to those kind of issues and be there for you. We should be there in the first place without them. But because they develop that kind of a relationship, it makes it a lot easier on many of the issues that come before us here in Washington, D.C. And I'd like to let all of you know that I do have a 100% voting record on labor. Thank you very much. More than 100, that's true. More than 100 on labor issues. Because what we all care about is good paying jobs, isn't that right?
Yes.
What do we all want? Good paying jobs. We want to make sure we take care of our families, right?
Right.
They have the same opportunities that others have had, right?
Right.
That's what we want, is to make sure that our children and others, that you can pay your mortgage, that you can take care of your families, and that you can provide for them if they want to go on to a college or university or a community college, and says, you know what, you have this opportunity. But you also need to remind them to say, remember that us from working families are the ones that are providing for you to go on to a college or university. So don't you forget. We need to remind our kids, because sometimes they forget. What we also want is good health care. Isn't that right?
Right.
We want good health care and good retirement benefits. It's become so important to a lot of us as we mature in age. When we're young, we don't think about that. But as we start maturing and we start looking at ourselves, and then pretty soon all of a sudden they says, do you want your Social Security or your Medicare card? I says, Madre mia, am I that old already? And he says, no, I'm just maturing, I just look a little bit different. I just don't quite have the hair that I used to have, But then we start looking at retirement and the benefits that become very important for us. And that's why, your brothers and sisters through the unions that can negotiate for you become very important. It's your brothers and sisters that negotiate that contract becomes important, because it's about your livelihood. It's about taking care of yourself, that you know that you have dedicated yourself as a member of CWA, member or part of that union, and you're saying, you know what, I want to make sure that I have good benefits and health, and that I can retire, that I'm going to be taken care of. I don't want to have to worry about 5, 10 years from now that someone's going to take that away from me. And that's why it's important that we continue to make sure that we protect health care, and then we have fair retirement benefits. And then we also need to make sure that when we're doing this, that we keep those jobs right here in America. That we don't outsource those jobs outside of this country. We need those jobs for those right here and for others that are coming behind us, so that they can have the jobs as well. Right here. No outsourcing. No jobs that go outside. That becomes very important to a lot of us. Having access to broadband internet is critical for success in the business and education today. It's a fast-paced world. One of the world's biggest champions of the digital age is Bill Gates. He said, the internet is becoming the town square for global villages of tomorrow. There are strong connections between the success of a child's education and success in the internet. Boy, do we know that. Our children, they're the ones that know everything about internet, computers. They're wizards. Every time we want something, who do we ask? Hey, kid, son, daughter, granddaughter. I asked my grandkids, can you do this for me? Oh, not a problem, Grandpa. Gee, it's so easy that they can get in and out. And I said, I'm confused. I can't get in and out of this. Yeah. Oh, I'll get you through it, And so it becomes very important. But we need to make sure that we do provide, broadband to help the voices of working men and women in our country. It becomes very pivotal. Internet users are more connected to the world. They gain knowledge a lot faster. And they expand small businesses. But what we do, the internet, broadband, and we're involved a lot, I also believe that we've also got to do something. We've got to keep, with a lot of our youth, that they also get involved physically, too, as well. And they look at obesity and the problems that are there, too, as well. And that's why, I carried legislation in the past that dealt with nutrition, and I sit on a committee on the ag, and we passed the farm bill that fed 42 million people who are going hungry in the United States. And that's why I even have legislation even now that says, you know what, if members go on strike, I want to make sure that you receive SNAP programs to make sure you take care of your family so they don't starve while you're out there on the picket line to make sure that others receive assistance. And I'm trying to pass that legislation. It's important to a lot of us. And it's important that we feed many people who are going hungry here. And that's why, as chair of the CHC task force, I have been active in working to create jobs and increase access to broadband. I supported the AT&T T-Mobile merger. I supported that. And you know why it was important to us? We would have had 5,000 jobs called back to call those centers to be right here in the United States. 5,000 jobs right here in the United States for other individuals. It would have expanded access to 93% of Americans. And it would have expanded faster wireless network to American rural and underserved communities. And I've been a constant supporter of Universal Service Lifeline, which is important to a lot of us. In fact, maybe when I was working with, then it was GTE, and I carried the merger when Jim introduced me earlier. I carried the merger AB19. I still remember the bill AB19 and the merger that allowed, GTE to merge, and now it's Verizon. During that period of time, and we were doing universal services. I was a public relations person, and I was going around telling people and seniors and others about Universal Lifeline and that they should sign. Apparently, I was doing too good of a job. They said, Joe, you got to stop going out. More people are signing up for it right now. Maybe we're losing a little bit of money. We're not making as much money as we were. And I said, I thought it was supposed to be about providing a service, not about how much money we're making or not. And I did this during that period of time, and of course, I was working at that time in public affairs, and they said, you're doing too good of a job in terms of letting too many people know about the services that we have to provide. But I think it's still important that we let a lot of individuals right now who can't afford to pay a lot of the bills to know that they have a service that's available to them. Because we're going to be at that stage one day in our lives. And if we're ever there, we want to make sure that it's accessible and it's available for us as we continue to grow. Not because we're just employees, of Verizon or some kind of communication services. But it's available for others too as well, that they have the ability to receive the services. That's why, I've written letters in support to the CHC chair, FCC, to make sure that no one is denied Lifeline benefits because of arbitrary caps, or everyone needs access to telephone service. Becomes very important to a lot of us. This year in Congress, that we're having a very difficult time with what's going on because of the gridlock that we've had with the Tea Party in the area. And it says, they want to stop government. I can't understand with them saying, we've got to stop government, we've got to reduce the deficit. But, they all want disability. They all want Social Security. They all want Medicare. You know what? Well, that's government, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes. Isn't it? Yes. It is government. And thank God that the government is there to provide assistance for others that don't have the assistance. And yet, they talk about the deficit. But you know what? They're not willing to, millionaires and billionaires, they continue to make monies. They continue to take those jobs outside of the United States and outsource those jobs. I haven't seen them create those jobs right here. And they turn around and blame President Obama. Obama has been trying to do the right thing for the American people right here. And that's why I'm a surrogate for Obama and going around the country and telling people, you know what, we've got to make sure that he gets reelected because he's going to do the right thing for the American people, create the jobs right here in the United States, make sure that they're here, not only in the automobile industry, not only the communication workers of America, but we got to make sure that he's there. And that's why I supported legislation to keep the centers within our borders, keep the elections fair by stomping our special interest dollars. And that's why, you know, I voted to protect the National Labor Relations Board, voted to protect labor agreements, voted to protect the Davis-Bacon prevailing wages language. And in fact, we even put that in the Farm Bill during the last time that it came up 2 years ago. It's coming up again, and hopefully that we continue to keep prevailing wages in there because we want to make sure that decent wages are there. Because, you know, these guys would rather pay us, you know, minimum wages and what we deserve to get paid. And, you know, women deserve to get paid for equal pay as well as a male for performing the same duties. You know what? And it's important that we have a voice and someone that speaks out there. That's why I proudly have voted against destroying, you know, every job that has come up on the free trade agreements. You know, I'm one individual, I probably have a better record than anyone else on this who has served in Congress. That includes Democrats, you know.
Yeah, we know.
That includes our own Democrats. I have voted against every trade agreement that has come up. I don't care who is against. I have voted against it. Whether it's Mexico, African American, the Cuban, Panama, Korea, or everyone, I have voted against it. Because it's about those jobs that need to be done right here. And that's why I stated that I want to continue to support President Obama as a surrogate. And for a lot of you, how many of you watched the State of the Union address the other day? A lot of you did? Did any of you see me on TV, happen to watch me? A few people did. You know, I've got a prime spot, you know, and everybody's wondering. I says, well, why is the congressman out there, you know, I always get this prime spot, you know, every time we see him after every State of the Union address that comes up. And I said to myself, you know what, I'll spend a lot of time. I got there at 7:30 in the morning. And I sat there from 7:30 to about 9. No, don't believe that. But I did get there at 7:30 in the morning and got my seat planted during the day. And then throughout the day, I went back and forth to make sure that I'm there. And a lot of people said, well, why does he do that? You know, why does he put himself going through this? You know what? Everybody remembers that I shook the president's hand and I was on TV. They don't remember the legislation that I've carried. But they remember that I shook the president's hand. And one of the things that people asked me, during that State of the Union address, they said, well, we noticed that you had the president sign a book. Did you guys notice that, some of you? And everybody's wondering, what's the name of that book or what book that you have? You know what? I went to the AFL-CIO breakfast for Martin Luther King in L.A., and Maria Elena Durazo gave me a book that she handed to everybody. It's called All Labor Has Dignity. All Labor Has Dignity. It's a book about Martin Luther King's involvement in the labor movement. That's the book that I had Obama sign. It seems like everybody wants it now, you know, because it's, you know, everybody all over the world saw him sign it. But it parallels the story of Martin Luther King during that period of time saying that we've got to stop spending money on the war and start spending money on creating jobs, taking care of health, taking care of the economy, and take care of the American people right here. That's what Martin Luther King said. We have been spending too much money, and it's time that we stop taking care of the haves and the haves, and we need to take care of everybody. And that's what this book paralleled, and I was reading the book while I was, you get there at 7:30 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be there all day, so I started reading the book and looked at the speech that he gave, but it paralleled what Martin Luther King talked about. And we're still with the same kind of struggles even today for working families that say that we need to create jobs right here in the United States, that we need to make sure that we take care of health, and that we make sure that we have the kind of education to allow every one of our kids to go on to a community college, a state college, or university, but that's affordable, that they can go to school and that they can complete their dreams and reach for the stars. It's outrageous what they're doing now in a lot of our community colleges, state colleges, universities, where tuition has gone up so high. Martin Luther King said education becomes very important for a lot of us. And that's what we need to continue to do, is to make sure that's there. And I want to make sure that I'm a fighter there, but I'm also, as stated, you know what? If people sometimes don't like the fact is, and President Obama and I are there on comprehensive immigration, we want to make sure that it's done. It's not going to go away. If we don't address it, the people are still here. We need to address the problem of the 12 to 14 million people that are here. Regardless of what we feel or dislike, we need to address the problem. It's not going to go away. It's just like if you have a labor issue or a contract issue, it's not going to go away unless we deal with it. We talk about it, we negotiate, and we make sure that it's done because we need it for you, because you're taking care of your brothers and sisters. Isn't that right? And we got to make sure that we do that. That's why I'll always be coming from labor. My father was a laborer. I was a laborer. I was a janitor. Can you imagine a janitor becoming a United States congressman? I'm right here. You know, I used to clean everybody's gum and clean everything else. And now I'm a United States congressman. That tells us, you know what, que si se puede, that we can be whatever we want. But we also must remember where our roots come from. And I'll never forget my roots, and I'll never forget my brothers and sisters from labor. I'll always be there. I'll always be fighting for you. I'll always be a voice for you. Thank you, and God bless all of you.